All right, let's get right into it. We're going to talk about something that pretty much affects everyone, the clothes in our closets. But more specifically, we're going to explore how we can shift our thinking away from this crazy, endless cycle of buying clothes, wearing them a few times, and then tossing them, and move toward a philosophy of buying things that are actually built to last. I mean, we've all been there, haven't we? You buy a new shirt, you're excited about it, you wash it a couple of times, and suddenly, boom, there's a tiny hole or the shape is just completely wrong. It's a super common frustration, and believe me, it's not an accident. It's a direct result of a massive shift in how our clothes are made and sold. And yeah, that culprit has a name: fast fashion. It's this whole idea that our wardrobes are basically disposable. Things are made cheap, they're sold cheap, and they're really only designed to be replaced in a season or two. It completely flips what should be an investment into just a constant, nagging expense. But what if there was a better way? A way that's actually cheaper in the long run? To really get this, we need to look at this brilliant economic idea that comes from a very unlikely place: a fantasy novel. It's called the Boots Theory, and honestly, it perfectly explains why paying a little more upfront can save you a whole lot of money down the road. This quote from Terry Pratchett's book Men at Arms just hits the nail on the head. You've got the rich man who buys one expensive, well-made pair of boots. Then you have the poor man who can't afford that big initial cost, so he's forced to buy cheap boots over and over again. So in the end, not only does he spend more money, he also gets a worse result. He still has wet feet. So let's actually break down the math here, because it's pretty stark. Over 10 years, that cheap option, the $10 boots, ends up costing you $100. The so-called expensive one, still just 50. You literally end up paying double for the privilege of having wet feet. It's a perfect illustration of how saving a few bucks today can really cost you in the long run. And that is the exact trap that fast fashion sets for all of us. Okay, so that's the theory, but how do we actually use it to build a real-world wardrobe? How do we apply this boots theory when we're out shopping? Let's break it down into some of the key categories, starting with the big-ticket items. When we're talking about jackets and coats, this is where that whole buy-it-for-life idea really comes into its own. You want to look for a few specific things: tougher, heavier fabrics that can really take a beating, simple, timeless designs that aren't going to look dated next year, and this is a big one: the ability to be repaired. A truly great jacket doesn't just last, it gets better with age. It develops character. And here's a perfect real-world example of a company that truly stands behind its gear. The author of the piece we're looking at walked into a Patagonia store with a 10-year-old jacket just riddled with holes from years of adventure. And instead of some complicated repair process, you know what the store did? They just handed him a brand new one, right there, for free. Now that is a lifetime commitment. Now, this shows that durability doesn't always mean you have to spend a fortune. For about $30, you can grab a pair of Wrangler cowboy cut jeans. They're made of rigid, 100% cotton denim, the same stuff actual ranchers have been wearing forever. Then on the other end, you've got Levi's premium line. The key with a brand like Levi's is to just avoid all their cheap, stretchy junk and pay for the heavier, better constructed denim. You get what you pay for. Of course, let's be real, no t-shirt is truly buy it for life. It's just not going to happen. But you can get a whole lot closer by just shopping smarter. A brand like Champion, for instance, has built its entire reputation on using this heavyweight reverse weave fabric in their sweatshirts and tees. The designs are classic, they haven't changed in decades, and the material is just made to handle more washes and more wear. Simple as that. Footwear is probably where a lack of quality shows up the fastest. The signs of a great buy-it-for-life pair are pretty simple. They're built with real materials, like actual leather and rubber, and this part is absolutely crucial: they can be resold. A shoe that can be rebuilt instead of just thrown in the trash is the very definition of a long-term investment. Just look at the LL Bean boot. It was designed over 100 years ago for one simple reason: LL Bean himself got tired of having wet feet on hunting trips. And you know what? The design has barely changed because it just works. And when that rubber sole finally wears down after years and years of use, you just send them back and they'll rebuild them for you. That is a product designed to stay with you for life, not just for a season. And this whole philosophy even applies to the small stuff. There's a brand called Darn Tough Socks that's famous for their lifetime warranty. I mean, if you actually manage to wear a hole in them, they'll replace them, no questions asked. In a bag like the North Face Base Camp duffel, it's literally built to be thrown around airports and the backs of trucks for years and not fall apart. So we've covered a lot about what to buy, but what's just as important is how you take care of the stuff you already own. Making your clothes last is an active process, but honestly, it's surprisingly simple to do. Here are 4 incredibly easy steps you can start doing right now. Number 1, zip your zippers before washing. Why? Because those little metal teeth will absolutely shred your other clothes in the machine. 2, just wash things less often. Seriously, denim and outerwear almost never need a full wash. Spot clean them. 3, learn a super simple repair, like sewing on a button. It's so much cheaper than buying a new shirt. And finally, vote with your wallet. Support retailers that actually stand by their products. Just look at the policies from places like REI and Patagonia. At REI, members get a full year to return something, no questions asked. That shows confidence in their products. But Patagonia's ironclad guarantee? Well, that's the gold standard. They will repair, replace, or refund an item if it doesn't perform. Forever. Their priority is keeping gear in use, not just selling you more and more of it. So what this all really boils down to is a fundamental shift in how we think about the things we own. We have to move away from seeing our clothes as this disposable, recurring expense and start seeing them as a long-term investment. And that, right there, is the real takeaway. Buying for life isn't really about spending more money. It's about getting more value for your money. It's an investment in quality that's going to serve you better. It's an investment in timeless style over some fleeting trend. And at the end of the day, it's just a more sustainable way to live. It really all starts with just one decision. So think about it for a second. Whether it's a great pair of boots, a solid jacket that will last you for decades, or even just a simple leather belt. What's the one item you'll choose to invest in, knowing it's going to be with you for years and years to come?